welcome to a little chat we're going to do today. We're going to talk about shadow work and inner child work just because it's something that we've been working on and has been life-changing for us. And we feel like you guys need to be doing this with us.
Yeah, it's transformed both of our lives tenfold, and we just want to start sharing it with everybody and getting the word out of how to really level up and just ascend, evolve, and just feel better about yourself as well, and just take your mentality to a new level.
Yes, and this work, inner child, shadow work, we'll use those terms interchangeably, even though they're different and they're kind of the same. But we're going to go into that a lot today. We're going to give you kind of a background of what each of them, like what each of it is, what the work entails, personal stories, benefits of why you should be doing this, and then we'll give you some tips of how to get started.
Yeah. So shadow work and inner child work, like Lauren said, it's interchangeably the same thing. Different terminology for the same goal, right? And it's based on this idea that all of our kind of belief systems start from the ages of 0 to 7. And 95% of how we believe, how we live, how we act is based on what we learned in those ages. And shadow work is just getting down to the roots of the traumas, the emotions that we trapped inside all those many years ago, or even presently, to release and to heal and to feel better.
Yeah, so it's sort of like we build up these walls and these layers out of fears, like fear of being, most of it comes down to fear of being unlovable, or fear of like low self-worth, of like, for instance, if a parent, said something to you as a child, or like yelled at you for like being mean to your sister and you took it to heart and that like crushed you, is like, okay, like I have to follow the rules, I have to be like a good girl. Mm-hmm. And that could be, a shadow you are still carrying with you in your life of like, why are you still in this job that you don't like? Who are you trying to please? And that could come down to that one incident that you were, yelled at from your dad for like pushing your sister or something stupid like that, right? But it's not stupid. As like a kid, like you take that shit really seriously. It's a trauma.
And that's what like people take traumas as, it has to be this huge, profound event that only a small percentage of the population have dealt with. But a trauma could be anything from, like you said, being hurt by something that your parents said that they didn't even realize. It could be something like abuse, which is hugely impactful and profound, but it could be being dropped off at school, you crying because it's the first time away from your parents, and the teacher being like, stop crying, be a big boy, be a good girl. That's trauma. And it's just, we are taught to believe that it isn't, and we are taught just to shake everything off and not feel, and that's the root of many of the illnesses, physical and mental, that we have today.
Yeah, like going back to like the not feeling, right? Or like even like in school, we're taught we're all supposed to be a specific way. Like the town you grew up in, like the friends, family you have, like we try to fit this mold. It's like school, or even like it starts before school, but it's like, you think about it, it's like there's one best way to learn. Like, what if you don't learn that way, right? Or like, what if you don't like sports, like, and then that makes you feel like you don't fit in, and you try to fit on that like persona. It's like we build up these layers and these walls to hide who we truly are, out of fearing that if I don't act this way, like I'm not worthy of love. And like that's pretty much what it all comes down to. We are all so fearful we are not worthy of love. And we all want the same things, and that is to be loved. So how do we change ourselves? It's like the clothes you're going to wear, like the weight we try to be, the foods we eat. It's like, how can I morph and control and change myself to fit the mold that I think I'm going to be loved for? And years down the road is where, we start to have all these physical, emotional, sort of ailments, symptoms that we try to go to the doctors and have them fix, but really it's in our subconscious mind that's causing it.
Yeah.
So I just went on a tangent, but did any of that like make sense to you?
It does. It resonates so much.
What always makes sense to you? I hope it made sense to you guys.
And that's just to go off laws. That's like the repeating beliefs or patterns in our head, like that negative thought that you repeat over and over and over and over and over and over again in your head. That becomes your belief system, and then that's subconsciously what you live off of. And it's going to keep repeating in your life until you deal with it. So the trauma you had when you were 2 years old and didn't deal with it, bogged it down, shut it away because that's what you were taught to do, or that's how you saw your parents act and learned from behaviors of that they did, that's how you took on their behavior patterns, will keep repeating in your life until you deal with it. So like the relationships that you might keep sabotaging, or things that pop up from other people, or situations that occur, it's the universe sending you the same situation that triggers you for the same emotion because you have not dealt with the original one yet. You haven't processed it yet.
It's all tests.
Yeah, just different tests and trying to wake you up each time. So once you finally deal with that original emotion that's trapped in your body, that's you've been holding back for so long, that belief pattern that limits you, then your life starts to open up and expand, and those mirror images stop reflecting back at you.
Yeah. And just go back to that too, is like, none of this trauma that you've experienced like in your life is your fault. None of it is your fault. And the thing is just to become aware of like, why are we, having these feelings and thoughts? It's, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, by bogging it down as a kid, you don't even know you're doing it.
Exactly.
So it's just, we're taught that it's, not a way to like talk or deal with emotions. It's like, stop crying. Like, why are you mad? Like, be happy. And it's like, you gotta feel it. And I'm one who like absolutely no feeling, because I have had I just figured it out this year that I'm a huge empath, and the only way I've survived this life is through not feeling, because I feel way too much. So, and that's trauma as a kid of me feeling way too much. So it's like, it's a lot, but it's so worth it. So yeah, why don't you explain a little bit about like what got you into this stuff? Like, what has your journey been like?
So emotion causes physical or mental disease, no matter what the root cause of it. We live in a society where we treat the problem or treat the symptom, not what actually is happening. But when we bog down all of this stuff, when we don't express ourselves, and we live in limiting beliefs, physically, mentally, you suffer. And that's what comes from sickness, or for me, it was physical pain in my body. So I was riddled with pain all over my body, in my wrists, in my knees, in my ankles, in my back. It would jump around. Everyone told me it was tendonitis. It started when I was probably, realistically, in sports in high school. I started having like inflammation of my ankles that would just be painful, that everyone thought it was just like tendons rubbing up against each other. And then it jumped to my wrists as I got older, and like 18, 19, 20. And it would jump from wrist to wrist, where like I had to wear these wrist guards. I was a waitress, so embarrassing. These like wrist guards as I served food.
Oh my God.
So ridiculous. And then to my back, and my back like laid me up in bed for weeks. Like I couldn't do my jobs, I couldn't participate in society, I was bedridden. And I went to every chiropractor, physical therapist, massage therapist, doctors, MRIs, x-rays, everything you could thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars spent trying to heal. And they all had the same answer. They didn't know what was wrong with me. They were like, oh, SI joint, that's it. That's all anyone ever said, but no actual healing took place.
And just to interrupt, like, I know you guys listening, like, how many of you out there, like, have been to millions of doctors and, like, can relate to what she's saying, right? Like, I know how much time and money, and it's like, we just want to know what's wrong with us, right? But, like, you aren't alone in that, so keep going.
Yeah, it's so true. They just give you a month. They just kept trying to give me muscle relaxers. And I'm like, that's not doing anything for me. So I found this book, Dr. John Sarno. I tell everybody to go read it, even if you don't have back pain, because the book's called Healing Back Pain, and it changed my entire life. It was, reading the book was enough to start to make my pain go away, and then it's about shadow work and inner child work, just packaged differently, like many things is, but it's going to your root emotions, your limiting beliefs, going back to the past, resolving those, and to find a healing and getting rid of whatever ailment you might be dealing with. And for me, it was a week. So this was probably 10 years of pain in a week. It was all gone. Just through starting to do emotional release.
I wish my journey's been that easy. Not easy, not to say that's easy, but like it's quick, right?
Yeah,
quick.
For me, I get physical pain in my body. So even now, like I was at Soul Cycle once, and I weirdly just thought the financial system was going to collapse. And I was in Soul Cycle, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, shit, what am I going to do? What the F? It's going to be fucking over. Back seized up. I had to like leave.
Oh my god.
Don't worry, guys. I went and did some shadow work, and it was gone within a day or two.
Hey, that's awesome. How old were you when you started doing
that? Probably like 5. I forget how old I am now. So
I know I always have to remind you how old we are. We legit got in a fight, like a big fight about how old we were, and we got lost driving because
we were fighting about how old we were.
But FYI, I was right.
Lauren was right.
Yeah, and right now we are 32.
We are, and I still feel like I'm, I don't know, like 18, 22. So that's why I get so confused. I'm like, oh, it was a couple years ago, but it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
That's crazy though.
Yeah.
And like, how has this journey like progressed for you since then?
Now it just gets like more and more expansive with the deeper I get. Like my whole mindset has shifted. Everything about my life has changed for the better, and I just have a deeper connection with the universe and sense of self. And it's only going up from here. It's just the beginning.
That's cool. Like, so can you give us like an example? And I know I probably know this stuff, but I like to hear it. And they may not know. Like, what is one like huge, like it's probably multiple blocks, but like what's like one, huge like shadow side you've had to work through?
For me, it was a lot of dealing with emotions of my past and people that were involved, like family members and stuff like that, and going against the what I thought and how I thought I grew up, and being okay with that, and not having like this perfect family that you're supposed to have, which is fine. But it was just resentment and anger I held within, because for me it's perfectionism, right? I have to be perfect. So even if I feel resentment, or if I feel anger, or if I feel sadness, I used to not feel. I didn't express it. I'd be like, oh my god, yeah, it's great. Oh, your grandmother passed away. Yeah, it's okay. I'm doing fine. Like, but it was with every circumstance of my past. Whether I was hurt, whether I was angry, whether I was upset, I was still trying to be the good girl who took care of everyone else, to make other people happy, to be perfect, to find my own self-worth and love. Because I thought in order to have love, you had to be perfect. In order to be worthy, you had to give everything else to everyone and leave yourself behind. So that's like a huge shadow side that I have on my own. It's like dealing with this perfectionism, and then still like this jealousy side of if I don't have it, it still comes into play, and I'm still working on it. I have no nearly perfect here, and that's why I don't even use that, perfectly imperfect. No one. Yeah. I try to like eliminate it from all costs at this point.
Yeah. I can agree with that a ton.
Yeah.
Has there been like one big event that sticks out to you, or is it like multiple, like just, your entire life of just so many things, or is there like one certain like
for me, it's many, many things. A lot of it has to do with like my parents, my grandparents. It's a lot of like where I store a lot of my emotions that were never expressed. But then even like it's so many, like how I was raised. Like the more I know and learn as I grow, the more I'm like, oh shit. Like even the school system is such a big part of how you are shaped, and it indoctrinates every single person that goes in there. And for me, I was very good at it. So I was, by society, the best that you could be. Like,
you always wanted to be the best,
because that's how I thought you would find love. But realistically, so it's like a lot of like resentment towards trying to be perfect through school and getting the grades and getting the sports and being the best at everything, so other people would be proud of me.
Yeah. No, I remember that. Anything we've ever done, Lauren has always had to be the best. Like, and she's gotten a lot better just from working with her. Like, we spent probably like 15 minutes trying to like set up the right angle for this like screen, and I was just like, let's just friggin' do it, all right? Like,
and I'm like, shit, you're right. We just have to do it.
Yeah, we help each other out. But pro goalie to bench warmer.
It's still an ongoing journey, though. You know, like,
no, you're doing awesome though, Lost.
The growth of it.
Yeah. No, it's cool to see because, like, do you have anything else you want to add, or you want me to take over?
Oh, yeah. You can take it
over.
All
right. But no, it's cool to see just because, like, Lauren and I have been friends, like, you guys know, for, like, our entire lives, like, since we were 3 years old. So I've seen kind of this journey and how she's progressed with it. And just, you know, someone who's been doing this, like, she's done it a little bit longer than me. I really got into, like, shadow work and her child stuff, like, a year ago, like, last September. And I feel like I've been thrown through the ringer. Not gonna lie, but I've gone in very deep, very fast. Like, you guys can take this at, like, your own pace and do it gradually. I've chose to just kind of go, like, head in. I like to say kind of like a freight train and just, like, do it. But it's just been a good time in my life to do that. And just, you know, career-wise, working with Lauren-wise, things are just, it's my journey, it's my pace. And if, you know, when you guys start to do this, it will be your own. But it kind of started for me. So I went to a psychic last September, and I remember going to Lauren's yoga class, and I was like, I don't know, I just feel like I need to go to a psychic today. So I, like, went, and she was like, your guides want you to get into shadow work. And this lady had sent a bunch of other things that I was just like, this lady, like, knows my life. So I did a little research, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't even know really, like, where to begin. And so I'm somebody who likes to go to the source. So I hired a shadow work coach, which that can totally be an option. And I had been to different years of, like, I saw a therapist for a couple years before that, and, like, that kind of opened up a couple of things, but we got to a point where I just felt like, what are you even talking about here? She's telling me, like, I gotta, like, chill out and stop, like, working so much. And I'd be like, how'd you do this week? And I'd be like, not that good. So I just felt like I was ready for something different. So I hired a shadow work coach, and from, like, 6 months worth of doing that, like, I had, like, probably 10 years worth of therapy. So if you're looking to dive all in like I did and, like, have somebody push you, like, I can give you references for that. But basically, like, through doing that, shadow work pulls out parts of you. So, and it gets into your, like, creative imagination a little bit, but through the coaching, like, for instance, like, my biggest layer was this protection layer I had, like, perfection also, like Lauren. And by pulling this layer out, I called her my protectress, which it just had a ring to it. So, like, envisioning this, like, shell kind of, like, protecting us, and a lot of us have that shell really close, right? Like, when we aren't doing the work, it's like, we don't want to let anything in, and I grew up that way. But kind of, like, taking out that outermost layer, I've been feeling so much more, and that's opened up a whole lot more things. But one of the biggest thing that protectress, like, had done for me was keeping me busy. So I'm somebody, like, Lauren knows I freaking love lists.
So many lists,
but I just like them. But that's how I spent my life, was, like, literally marking my day down to, like, scheduling in time to, like, you know, be like, get up at, like, 7, eat breakfast, shower, like, go to work. Like, I would schedule in my showers and, like, what time I was gonna have a snack. I would like check it off. But, like, that was, like, my form of protection, what has gotten me to this point in my life, because, like, being so busy and just kind of powering through school, emotions, relationships, like, it's gotten me to be where I need to be, like, at this point. And I think a lot of it comes from, like, now that I'm doing the work of me feeling way too much as a kid. Like, from what so then I got into more inner child and, like, trying to figure out where these things stem from. And a lot of it, you know, comes down to, for me, my parents, my family, the way I grew up. Like, so for instance, like, through a way I've done this is through deep meditations and journaling, which we'll recommend to everybody. But you may think you know, but, like, just starting to, like, ask yourself, like, when's the first time this happened, and start to journal about it. You'll see what comes up. Like, for me, that layer of needing, like, being perfect and, like, not wanting anybody to feel like I need, like, help or, like, should ask for help for somebody came from my sister. Like, I got taken back to a time from my sister when she was really sick. She was in the hospital and all this stuff, and my parents freaking out. I'm 2 years old, like, just trying to be this perfect little kid that they don't have to worry about. And I've kept that layer with me my whole life of, like, I don't want to be the one that anyone has to worry about. Like, I can do this life on my own. But, like, we aren't here to do this life on our own. And, like, that's something that has kept me back from a lot of, like, romantic relationships. And that's another part of my life I'm diving into. But, yeah, it just kind of gets you back to, like, the root cause of where it's coming from. And, like, how do you reframe that, right? A lot of it's, like, turning it around to, like, what did you need to see at that time as a kid? Like, in your imagination, make it up. Like, it reprograms your subconscious. So instead of me feeling, you know, like my parents were running around and stressed out and, you know, frazzled and, you know, living in lack and fear, like, it's like I imagine them telling me that, you know, like, everything's going to be okay, Lauren. Like, we're here to help you, and you, like, are, you know, doing awesome, and, like, all this. You can kind of reprogram it. And it's more, like, not, like, regretting the past, or, like, you know, it does lead you down these paths sometimes of, like, thinking your family was perfect, and it may open up some things that, like, can bring on a lot of emotions, but it's knowing, like, anyone in your past is doing the best they can with what they know. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that has to be the way you perceive life or your future. So
how did it show up for you, like, mentally, physically, like, emotions of blocking in the past?
Yeah, so, okay, that's just an example. I got a lot of shit. A lot of it. So, this, you know, last year, like, you have probably seen a transformation in kind of how me and Lauren are presenting ourselves on social media and haven't been, like, doing as much. I've had a lot of mental and physical things come up, like, and it's coming to the surface of being stored in my body for so long. And I've always had these things, but physical wise, like, I'd never feel pain. Like, Lauren,
that's how I feel it. That's how I get it. That's my sign.
Yeah. And I never have felt that. So, like, it's interesting. You're hearing this from two different complete perspectives. Like, my initial, like, I've always had gut issues, and that goes back to, like, even, like, being, like, an infant. Like, we don't have to go into every story I have, but, like, that's been my whole life. So, like, through stress and all that stuff, like, my, you know, just digestion, bloating, like, all that. And then when I get really stressed, it turns into skin issues. Like, I've always had eczema. This past August, I spent 3 weeks in, like, a full-blown panic. But it was a test from the universe, which was, like, trying to up-level me. But hypochondria, lots of stuff. Lauren was like, I pretty much created this rash in my mind.
Yeah.
I did. And it, like was, like, very intense. It was, like, covering my entire body. But then through mindset and changing that, it's, like, gone away. So, yeah, our minds can create good and bad.
Yeah.
And then also, so mine's a lot of, like skin and gut issues would probably be my top two. But, you know, along with that, like, a lot of body image stuff has come up for me, too. And that's related to just, like, you know, from kids calling me fat in, like, 5th grade to, like, being, like, a chubby baby and all of this, which has led to just more, you know, physical, of trying to find that balance of, like, how to move my body in a way that is serving me to be healthy, not, like, fit or skinny. Like, some of, like, my shadow words are, like, feeling, like, ugly or fat or things that, like, I perceive very unlovable, and I've tried everything in my life to not be those things out of fear no one will love me. And it has led me to a place of pushing myself too hard, like hormonal imbalance, just a lot of stuff. So it's like, even though, you know, you think you got it together, like a year ago, if you were talking to me, I tell you, I have no trauma. And if you're listening to this right now and you are saying you have no trauma, that is
ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding is correct. Like, you need to go, like, that's a huge sign, like, this work is for you.
Yeah.
And it comes at a point where you're ready, right? Like, I think I was very divinely protected of this coming to my life at this time. But I will say, since I've been doing this stuff, like, my life it sounds like I'm like telling you all this shit that's just gonna happen, like it's not gonna be good, but I look at it as like cleaning out a dirty closet.
And that's what you need to do. You need to like clean out, and as we evolve and ascend to this like 5D earth, we need to be doing this work. It's nothing, there's no time to be putting it to the wayside, to being these robotic people who don't feel, who don't have emotion anymore. It's time to change, it's time to grow. And unfortunately, if you don't, you're going to get left behind. So
we'll do more videos on the 5D too.
Yeah.
Because that's like a whole other
thing.
But how you get there is this work.
Because you have to master the dark as much as the light, and you have to become your own master of the self and take accountability for your life, because no matter what, you are the one who heals yourself. Like, you can't always blame how you grew up or how your job is or your school system or this or that or that. It's, you have to make these choices. You can always choose to find happiness, to grow, to have love, and it comes with a deep understanding of every event that's happened to you. I know this is going to be hard for some of you to hear, but every event that has ever happened has brought you to this place, and you've needed it, you've learned from it, and it could be extremely traumatic, and you're like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, this is what happened to me? Yes, because it's over many past lives, over many years, it's the lessons you need to learn to get you to this point right now.
Yeah, no, I've struggled with that a little bit myself, but what I try, Lauren brought up tests like a little bit ago, and I think like when you're going through this stuff, like the way you view things and how you view them can help so much. Like,
yeah.
So instead of, like, let's say you started doing the work and like issues like came up around relationships, right? And I know like a lot of my friends and I talk about like dating, and that's a topic like, most of us have, are doing now or done in the past, and anyone can relate to that, right? You're going through all these dates and it's like it didn't work out, and then your heart breaks, and then like, your relationship's falling apart, and you thought it was awesome, but like it's kind of, instead of like looking at it that way, it's like, all right, this person was a test or a mirror image from the universe of like, what do I need to learn from this, and why does it keep coming up? Mm-hmm. And so instead of looking at things as like not working out or a failure or like a past event, it's like, all right, this is a test. What do I need to learn? Let me master it so I don't need to repeat this test, and I'm thankful for this test.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can look at that more like, other than relationships. But I just felt like that was like an example like that you could kind of like relate to a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but it's just understanding that the universe works in weird ways, but it's here to support you no matter how traumatic the event may have been.
Yeah. Yeah. So to kind of be like, go back to why would you want to do this work, right? Like, what benefits are going to come through it? Like, everybody's journey is going to be your own, but what this work is going to do, and like we can promise you that, just like hang in there, it brings you back to like your true authentic self. Like, peel back all the layers, and like cleaning out the closet, right? When we put it back together, it turns into a masterpiece, and like your soul is a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. Our souls we're all masterpieces. And it's just like to imagine living this world with no layers, like showing up every day, doing what you love, being with who you love, and just like, I picture this like light just like shining, and like that's like what this work does. Like, and that is what the 5D,
it brings you back to your power and connection with others, connection with love, and connection with the universe, of like finding your worth and knowing that you are unconditional love no matter what. Like, you're a light energy, amazing being, like Lauren said, a magnificent creature.
We all are.
And we all have these gifts that are conditioned out of us. It's just peeling the layers and starting to tap back into it.
Yeah. So
where to start?
Where do you begin with all this, right? It's like we shared stories, like the challenges, the ups and the downs, like the benefits, but like you're probably wondering now, like, I've never heard of this, like, how do you even begin, right? Like, and do you even want to begin?
Yeah. So slowing down, meditating, getting out in nature, giving yourself an hour to yourself. They all sound like the woo-woo Instagram things. Get out in nature, slow down. But no, it's the connection is, it like gives you the moment to tap into who you are.
Yeah.
To go deep within, to kind of start peeling back your layers. And meditating is huge. Like, it's the number one thing that everyone on this planet should be doing. Just hands down. That's that. Like, whatever that means to you doesn't mean you have to sit and be like, but your version of meditation, whatever it is, whether it be walking or spending time out in nature, being present, painting, you should be doing that every day.
Yeah. And, you could do guided meditations, which we, can send you different forms of shadow work meditations that have been helpful for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we both do very different forms of meditations. Like, I like more like visual type things where I can see myself reprogramming it, like take into this like kind of like in sort of like hypnosis state. And I know Lauren's got like every meditation in the book. So
yeah, I do all different types of stuff.
But the thing with that is like journaling is like equally as important. Like,
if not more, with this particular, like, meditation gets you in connection with the higher universe and yourself to be able to like journal more and more, but the work comes in writing it down and expressing. And it can't be on a computer because it's not it doesn't
activate the same like
pathways. It doesn't activate the same. It's like, no, it's the crystalline effects that it just doesn't have. You need to be handwriting it out, and you let whatever emotions arise. And that could be no emotion. Maybe you cry, that's fine. Maybe you don't cry. Maybe you feel like this heaviness in your heart. Write about that as well. Go back and write about different past situations. We have so many journal questions that we can offer you if you ever want them. But it needs to be done.
Yeah. So, like, let's just, for example, right, kind of say, like, think of some kind of, like, physical or emotional ailment you're going through now that, like, you have been trying to figure out for a while. Maybe you have pain. Maybe you have gut issues. Maybe
you get headaches.
Yeah, like anxiety, depression, right? Like, just close your eyes, breathe for a few moments. Like, write down the question, like, where did this come from? Like, what's the first time I remember, like, feeling this way? And, like, see if you can bring yourself to, like, a past memory. And then just through journaling, like, you write the question down, see what comes up. Sometimes the pen and your subconscious take over control, and it can lead you to figuring out what that was. And once you know, you have the power to kind of, like, reprogram it and change it.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't lead you anywhere, just write. Like, mine, I start over here, and then I'm like, how the hell did I end up, like, talking about this person over here, being like, this person sucks and I hate them?
If anyone read my journal, they would be like, what the hell is this girl thinking?
Right, starts it, like, or somehow you can go off on a tangent, and then, like, it's like your mind scatters all over the place, and that's okay.
You need to give yourself permission to be free with, like, your journaling. No judgment of, like, I can't write this down because it doesn't feel good, or, like, what if somebody finds it? Like, you need to feel safe and, like, know that, like, whatever you write, like, is what you need.
Exactly, and that needs to be expressed, and we should probably express everything that are in our journals to the people or the situations out there.
We probably should.
I have, like, at least 50 pages of just fuck written over and over again. It's like, fuck. And then, like, a huge, like, you or something at the end. I don't know. It's like...
Oh man, just like, big letters crossing out, but yeah.
Exactly.
So you guys get the point, right? Journaling meditation's huge. Along with we are actually starting a program as well that, like, if you want more in-person support, because, like, this kind of work too, if you, like, got stuff, like, is good to do with, like, a group. Have somebody you can talk to and confide into.
Yeah.
Like, without Lauren, I don't know, like, I probably wouldn't be in this place. Like, I feel like when you need somebody in your life to talk to when you're doing this. And so, with our group, we're going to be doing, like, 21 days of journaling, meditation, group classes where we do breathwork meditations,
ceremonies.
And we take the time to chat and, like, talk about what's coming up for people.
And you don't have to talk if you don't want to.
Yeah. But that will be, something, if you're interested in this work and are a little bit, like, hesitant to be like, I don't know if it's, like, a box I want to open, then message us. Like, you aren't alone in it.
Exactly. You can always do, like, one-on-one coaching or reaching out to us and just diving deeper with any questions. We're here to help and support, and can always work individually with you guys as well.
Yeah.
But some good books that kind of like, it's like I said, it's different name, same packaging. Is that like same pack? No, same thing, different packaging.
Yep.
It's all of the same. Like all these books that we'll reference and we'll link in the notes are just, it's the same concepts, just different people's perceptions on it. Just like ours is different from other people's, but it's the same goal. It's the same idea. But some good ones are like the Motion Code, Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sano. Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die is also...
That would totally be a book she picks up.
Right? And then, what is my last one? The Biology of Belief is also kind of based on all of this stuff as well. Just like a lot of it's the science behind it and the brain patternings and thinking, because that's what it's all about. Like what we think, what our beliefs energetically come off into our energetic field, and then it affects our entire body. Many people think the physical is what causes, it's the physical that comes first, but realistically it starts in the mind, which goes into our energy field, which then goes physically into our body.
It's all related.
Yeah.
One isn't better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so we'll put everything in the notes. I'll link my shadow work coach, like where I found, there's like a website with a whole bunch of coaches on there if you want to browse through that, along with different books, our program, and yeah. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, just start now. Take action now. It's time to step up for yourself.
Like, you're honestly watched this whole video for a reason. Like, if you got to this point of this video and you're still watching,
it's time.
it's time. Like, you're ready for it. Like,
you heal you know? Like, you can...
Yeah. You'll find, like, we're just opening up space for you to heal yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, reach out. And that's all we got today.